Hi everyone, my name is Mary O'Brien and I am here to discuss with you my diverse lesson plan. This lesson is focused for a group of students in a first grade self-contained setting. All students have IEPs based on a diagnosis of speech and language impairments, emotional disturbance, autism spectrum disorder, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The students' ages range from 6 to 7 years old. Their cultures and backgrounds are slightly varied. In the class, there are 7 students who are English language learners and 1 student who is an English second language learner. There are 5 students who are from an Anglo-American culture, 1 from an Asian American culture, and 2 students from a Central American culture. These different cultural backgrounds will be taken into consideration during this lesson. The lesson I planned is a first grade math lesson plan where students will be able to find groups that are less by working in small groups of 2 to 3 students to complete a Finding Less candy game. I will make this lesson meaningful and engaging to the students because of the competitive nature of the game will encourage students to be active participants in this math game. They will also be meaningful, interested, and it'll be inclusive of the students' culture because all of the students will have brought in candies that represent their background. The students will be grouped in pairs that have different cultural backgrounds in candy, and the students will be given time to discuss with each other the name of the candy they brought in, the culture in which it represents, and the role it plays in their household. Some examples of candies that may be brought in would be a guava candy, which is a popular Chinese candy, mentas, which is a popular Dominican candy, ambrosoli, which is a popular Chilean candy, Cadbury mini eggs, which is a popular Irish and UK candy, Gelt, which is a popular candy from the Jewish heritage, Swedish berries, which is popular in Canada, and of course Dum Dum lollipops, Reese's peanut butter cups, or Tootsie Rolls, which are popular candies in the United States. Now that we have some background information about the students, the nature of the lesson, and how I will be incorporating diversity into the lesson, I will bring you through how I will be implementing my lesson. First, I will begin the lesson by activating the students' prior knowledge. I will review with them the lesson from the day prior about finding more than. I will then activate prior knowledge of being able to count out up to 15 candies. I will have the students take and count 15 of their own candies and place them on the provided paper plates. This is the paper plate, and the students would count out their own candies. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 candies on my paper plate. Next, I will have students make groups of candies that are more than 5 to activate their prior knowledge about the day before. Students may make groups of 6 candies, which shows their understanding that 6 is more than 5. I would have the students take their plates and make something that is more than 5. So, for example, a student may count out 6 candies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Once again, this shows that the student understands that 6 is more than 5. Next, I will review with the students how to interpret a rolled dice. I will show the students a large dice on the smartboard or hold up a large foam dice. I will show you an example of how to activate students' prior knowledge using the smartboard application. I will activate the students' prior knowledge about interpreting a rolled dice by showing a large dice on the smartboard. I may say, what number is being rolled? I will click the dice, and we will wait for the dice to stop. The students will say, that is 3. I will keep rolling until all of the numbers have been rolled. The students would say, that number is 6. The students would say, that is 2. We will continue this until we have rolled all numbers on the die. Once I have activated the students' prior knowledge about counting, discussing the previous day's lesson, and reviewing how to interpret a rolled dice, I will introduce to the students that today we will be learning how to find groups of candies that are less by playing a less candy game. Now that we have activated prior knowledge, the students will be introduced to the lesson of the day. I will tell them, today we will be learning about how to make less. I will show them a few examples of what it means to be less. I will have another student come up to the class and we will practice this together. I will tell them when someone has less, it means they have little. They have the smaller amount. This is important to figure out because sometimes we want to find who has less in order to make things a little more fair. and then eventually make them equal. Once again, today we will just be focusing on how to make less. I will first give the students an example. I will use one of the students' candies, which is an Italian candy called Galacia, and then my candy, which is from an American Anglo culture, of M&Ms. So first I will say, partner 1 or player 1 has 3 candies. We can count them. 1, 2, 3. I will say partner 2 only has 1 candy. We will compare these candies by looking at our plates. I would say, who has less? When someone has less, it means that they have a smaller amount. We can figure this out by eating them or pretending to eat them. I'd say let's pretend to eat them. If we each only eat 1, we'll take it and put it to the side. I would say, does any player have more candy, or is there a player that has no more? We would determine that the player 2 has no more candy, which means they have less. We can also determine this by our simple knowledge of knowing that 3 and 1, when we compare them, that 1 is smaller than 3. Once I have given the students 3 or 4 examples of what it means to be less, I will introduce them the Finding Less game. I will tell the students they will be playing a game where they will be partnered with another student to determine which student has less candy on their plate. We will play this game by rolling dice. Each student will roll the dice, write that number on a dry erase board or on a piece of paper, and then place that number of candy on their plate. The student will compare their candies to determine who has less. They can use the strategy of pretending to eat the candy and find out who runs out of candy first. They will learn that whoever runs out of candy first will have less. They will also use their knowledge of numerical values to determine which group is less. Whoever has less will win that round. The entire game will consist of 5 rounds, so the students will be repeating the strategy of rolling, counting, and comparing numbers 5 times. At the end of the 5th round, whoever has the most less than rolls will win. The students will be recording the game on a less candy game worksheet, which will look kind of like this. It will have your column for partner 1, partner 2, and the game number. I will now show you how I will give the students an example of how to play the game. I will now give the students an example of how to play the game. I would have the students become familiar with the materials that they need. Each student will get a plate with player number 1 on it and player number 2. They will have their dry erase boards and their markers so they can record what number they have rolled. They will also have a dice. For now, we will use a dice that's used on the computer, but when really implementing this lesson, I would be sure to have small dice for each student to use. We will also use our recording sheet and a pencil to record who has the less. So I would say to the students, make sure you have your candies. So we have both our Italian candy and then our M&M. I would have the students roll the dice. I would say, player 1, you go first. So player 1 would roll the dice and determine 6. I have rolled 6 candies. So player 1 would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They would also be sure to write the number 6 on their dry erase board. Now it would be player 2's turn, or my turn. I would roll the dice, and I would say, I have rolled the number 4. So I would count 1, 2, 3, 4. And I would write the number 4 on my board. Now the students would compare. They can either look at the numbers and determine, oh, I know that 6 is bigger than 4, and 4 is smaller than 6. So the person who has less is the person who rolled number 4. We can also determine this by figuring out who runs out of candy first. So we could pretend to eat the candy. We would say each person eat 1. We would see that everyone still has some candy left. We would then eat 2, and we would still see that each person has some candy left. We would do that again, and then one more time, and we would see that player 2 has run out of candy. This means that player 2 has less. That means player 2 won the game because they had less. So I would mark with a tally that player 2 won that round. I would have the children then take all of their candy off and erase the numbers. That way they can play it again. Now that the students are ready to play the second round, we will do the exact same thing. We will do this 5 times. So for example, player 1 would roll, and they would get 6 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now it's player 2's turn. Whoop, don't forget to write the number 6. Player 2 rolled 2, so they would say 1, 2, and write the number 2. Now they have to find out who has less. They can, once again, look at the numbers and determine, I know that 2 is less than 6, so 2 would be the winner. Or if they need to continue matching them up, they can do so. So they could each eat 1 and see that there are still the same left. Or they could eat another one, and they would see player 2, once again, has run out of candy, which means that they have less. We could say that the number 2 is less than 6. We would be sure that player 2 would mark that they won that round. We would continue this 5 times to determine who wins. At the end of the round, whoever has the most less than rolls will win the game. When they're done with that, whoever is the winner gets to eat their candy. So let's say that player number 2 had the most less than rolls, they get to eat their M&M. Delicious. Once the students are comfortable with the rules of the game, I will break them up into groups and allow them to start playing the Find Less Candy game. I will be sure to have each group paired with a teacher or teacher's assistant to guide them in the practice of finding less and to ensure that they are developing social skills, which is included in many of the students' IEP goals. It will be my responsibility to determine if the students are grasping the new content knowledge by meeting with each group and observing, as well as discussing with the students how they are determining which student has less. I will be taking notes about the students' progress, determining if they are understanding the new content, and if they are not, mark where they are confused. I will use this data to determine how to reteach this lesson in a small group or one-to-one setting with each student. Overall, my assessments will be based on the observations and notes about student progress throughout the game. Once the time is up and the students have practiced a few games, we will have a small group discussion about each partner's game by having them tell the class who won the game of finding less and what qualified that student to win the less than game. We will also review groups of numbers that qualify as less and close the lesson by watching a YouTube video called Number Gators, which will focus on how to find less in a visual and musical way. Thank you for watching my video presentation about my diverse lesson plan. I hope you enjoyed the integration of using cultural candies in a math lesson. I believe the concept of integrating cultural food is a simple and fun way to engage the students in a math lesson and math game. It is important that throughout the lesson, the students are recognizing their culture and sharing their cultural values with peers. This will help build connections to the lesson as well as developing pride and acceptance to all backgrounds. I hope to one day use this lesson idea in a future classroom. I know it can be modified in the event of any allergy situations by having students simply print out pictures of their candies. Once again, I thank you for your time for watching this video and look forward to watching yours as well.